Today I'm going to work in my favorite journal. Welcome back, friends. So I haven't had the opportunity to work in this journal for quite some time, and I really wanted to. So I recently did some papers using newsprint, but I also found a paper that I did this probably a long time ago, maybe almost a year ago. I couldn't believe it was still in my stash, that I hadn't used it yet. Who knows why? But anyway, today we're going to start with that as an inspiration, and I have no idea where else it's going to go. Let's just see. Let's get to it. Okay, so this is the Soho Brick Mixed Media little journal. I love this thing. It's 5.5 by 5.5 inches. The paper lies very flat when you're working on it, as you can see. And when you're working on it, it will curl up a little bit, but it lays flat after it's finished. It really is great paper to work with. So I pulled out a bunch of papers. These are some that I did recently and some that I just put in a pile for like a must use soon kind of thing. I really was leaning towards this one on the right, the golden grungy paper, but I couldn't make it work with the other papers. So then I saw this paper. This one was one of my favorite papers from a Tyvek session that I did quite a while back. And I just love this paper, and I was shocked that I hadn't used it yet in a collage. So I decided that this was going to be the paper that I was going to use as my inspiration for the rest of this. So this is what I'm going to start with. I was thinking maybe this paper could be combined with it, but I don't know. It's not working for me. I keep turning it around and trying to make it work, but I think the more pinky tones, sort of more magenta in that other paper is just not mixing well. This though, on the black with the tiny rubber bands, this is a good paper. So we're going to start with those two, and then we're going to see what happens. This is how I like to work. I like to start with something, get something down, glue it down, and then let's see what inspiration I get. So anyway, I just crease the bottom so I know about where to cut. I'm just going to cut across the bottom. So that's another thing I like to do. I like to just line up either the bottom or sometimes the two sides, like the bottom and one side. But I think we're just going to do the bottom, and then I might tear one side. So, and then I'm just going to let it fall wherever it falls, and then we'll trim from the underside. And the far right side, I'm just going to tear, so I have like a torn edge. So what I'm thinking is we'll start it a little bit in, and that far right side we'll put another piece of paper. So I had to do this as a voiceover because this was my first time recording in the new studio. Well, we have concrete floors, bare walls. Oh my goodness, it sounded horrible. So I had to throw away all the audio and do a voiceover. Anyway, let's get back to it. This is Liquitex Gel Gloss Medium, my favorite. And I'm just going to put some down on the paper, and only on that one side. I want to leave the other side kind of loose so that we can slip another piece of paper underneath. And so we're just going to line it up at the bottom. We only have medium on the left-hand side, so that's the part that's going to stick. I didn't get this down very straight. And I always reinforce the corners, the edges. And of course I'm going to use my Catalyst Wedge to really squeegee it down. And like I said, all that excess paper we're gonna turn it over and we're gonna trim in a little bit. So I have to find a paper for that other side, and as you can see I didn't line it up really well, so I'm not happy with that little white sliver under there. So then I thought, well, okay, let's fix that. So I just grabbed my ruler and I tore. Torn edge is fine. This is rice paper. So this is, I cannot tell you the rice paper because it's called Art Advantage and they no longer sell it. Breaks my heart, but they no longer sell it. Unfortunately, it was a fabulous paper to collage with. It was just the right weight, perfect weight. But anyway, whatever rice paper you like to work in, you can use. I've also used other kinds of papers. So if you're wondering what other kind of papers can you can use newsprint. I like to use Deli papers, which we're going to be using. That black paper is Deli paper. And let me think. Medical exam paper is another one of my favorites. Very, very thin paper. You could use wet strength tissue. There's all kinds of papers you could use. But back in the beginning, when I was first starting doing this, once I graduated to a better paper than copy paper, because that's what I did when I first started gel printing, I just used copy paper. And that was a good entry-level, beginner-level paper. You'll see this is also a rice paper. And I'm going to use just a piece of it on that far right side. So we're going to trim out a piece from here. But like I said, any kind of paper, if you're just starting out, I would start with copy paper because it picks up well and it's inexpensive. So you are not wasting like a really good quality paper, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And don't, when you're gel printing, don't beat yourself up because it didn't come out perfect every single time. It takes, I make mistakes too. Some of my papers I really hate in the end, but you just keep plugging along. And a lot of times there's papers you dislike are perfect for some collage you're working on. But this was a paper that I was working on, like some subtle papers. It's really beautiful, and it's got some of the same color reds. I think it's a quinacridone red that are in there in a very subtle way. So I thought it was perfect for this far right side. So I'm going to glue that down and then maybe trim it up, and so we could see what's missing, so we could really see the composition or where it's going. And obviously that part that's flapping up, that's going to overlay so we see the torn edge. So you'll notice I put it down, the glue down on the paper, but then I also go over the top. And then I use my wedge to really get it down there good. These Catalyst wedges are my favorite because they're made out of silicone. They give a little bit. But there are other wedges that are more like a harder plastic. You could also use a credit card. So if you're not ready to make that kind of investment yet, just pull out an old gift card, credit card, something like that. But see this is why I like it, because it gives. And then you could also peel the acrylic off of it when it dries. It really works very well. So if you're doing a lot of collage, I highly recommend the Catalyst wedge made by Princeton. The brush that's in my container is also a Princeton Catalyst acrylic brush. Their brushes are really great too. So I will link some different things in the description, like the wedge, the Catalyst wedge, the brush that I'm using, the gel medium, the Deli paper. See, this black paper here is a Deli paper, not to be confused with wax paper. This is not waxy. Picks up beautifully on a gel plate, and it goes totally transparent when used with a gloss gel medium. Really beautiful paper, and some of my favorite paper to use. I will also recommend some rice papers in the description below, but and I'll definitely post the link to this Soho journal, which is my favorite. So I'm just going to use a little, that piece that I showed you over on the far left, and also maybe on the far right, just to kind of have a balance. Okay, so I think it's time to trim up all this excess paper so we can really see what we've got here. And then we will lay down that black paper for sure, because I definitely want to use that paper. Okay, so we're getting all the paper off there. And now we could kind of see what's going on here. It's already looking better. We're going to use that black paper on the far left. And I'm thinking about whether or not I want to use a piece of it on the far right. But sometimes, I can't really tell until I've glued it down. So the Deli paper is really thin, and you have to be careful for wrinkles. So this is where the wedge really comes in handy. And so, of course, so we could visualize this better, we need to trim off the excess paper. Okay, so now that we've got the paper all trimmed up, now we could see, obviously we've got way too much contrast, this heavy thing on the left-hand side. We need to sort of carry that over a little bit to the right-hand side. So I'm thinking of maybe, a piece. Not anywhere near as big as the other side. And notice how transparent this paper went. If you look on the far left, you see all those red shades coming through. And now on this one, we're going to see that beautiful creamy color with a little bit of the pale pinks. So now I'm thinking, what else do I need here? Compositionally, I'm looking at things. Do I want another piece of that paper, or do I need to find something that is completely different? So I found this paper. This is when I was working with newsprint, and I don't remember if it was a pickup sheet or what it was, but anyway, it's left over from, I think, the recent painting that I was working on. So I decided that I wanted to make a strip about the width of my ruler. And I think I want to keep part of that turquoise that's in that paper as well. And I'm using my ruler to see where I might want to lay down the strip. And see that bit of turquoise that's in there? I definitely want to have it from that part of the paper. So the additional, just those different shades that are in there is really starting to pull this together. It needed something. It was too much of the same same colors. So then I had this little strip left over, and I thought maybe I'd put it on the other side. And that's a possibility. Yes, no, maybe. I think I like the idea of going across, going horizontally. And I wanted to stop in the middle of that circle. That's part of the print. So then I started looking at other parts of that paper. I do like that yellow. So I thought, well, maybe let's just cut another piece. So I'm liking the way these colors are all working together now. Yeah, I definitely needed more color. So I'm trying to decide, do I want to go all the way to the gutter? Do I want to stop at the middle of the circle? Like, what do I want to do? I think I want to stop at the circle. I'm still playing with the composition here. So then I decide that I'm gonna, because I also wanted that sort of more magenta purpley color that's on the far left of that horizontal strip. So I decided to put this one down first. And here I am going right over the torn paper. I decided I didn't like too much torn paper now. You know, we've got the black pieces that are torn. I wanted something a little different. Can't have everything too much the same. But now I lost that little yellow piece that was on that horizontal paper. So I'm thinking of just like doing something with it. I don't know. But I'm going to glue this down first. And I want to make sure I'm kind of in the center. That's why I like working with these matte boards that have the grid, because it does help you line things up a bit. And I love my little T-square that I've had for a million years, if you could tell. Okay, so I did like that purpley color that we have both in the first paper that we used. We have it in that strip that I just put in that had the teal, but I missed that little yellow bit, so I'm putting that back in. With a slight torn edge. So one of the things that I love about this paper is how it's now bringing your eye back. And it's almost like an arrow pointing at the other side of the page. So we've got like these things that are allowing the eye to move around. So then I started thinking that I needed another piece of turquoise on that left-hand side. So I was looking at that bit right there that has the yellow and the teal, and I was thinking of cutting like a really, you know, speaking of arrows, almost like an arrow. And I was thinking of putting that down there. or even a tiny, tiny strip like that. Just playing with different ideas. But something about it is just like wrong. So I start flipping through other papers thinking that maybe I can find something that'll work. And then I go back to this paper, and it's got a really light teal on it, and I'm thinking maybe that's what I need. I'm also loving that side, but I'm thinking no. I cut another triangle, or maybe let's just go straight across. And maybe this is like what I need. It's still not working for me. So I decide to cut a strip, just a thin strip of this paper. And then the phone rings. Oh my goodness. So while fumbling for the phone, I flip that little piece of paper I just cut upside down, and there it is. It landed on, like, see, it came right from there, and it landed upside down up here, and it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. So I'm happy the phone rang, I guess. It has a little bit of that yellow green. It's got the teal. It's got like all the colors that I want. And it's just perfect. It's the cherry on top. So again, that's like sometimes these little accidents that happen, they're just like, you don't know why, but and if you're smart enough or you're good enough to recognize when these accidents happen, that you have to be observant. I think that's what it's all about, is just being observant to what's happening at the time and not get stuck with what the initial plan was, because the accidents that happen and the new things that take place during the process can sometimes be a big improvement to what the original idea was. And let me tell you, this was nothing like the original idea. This is so far removed from it, but so much better, I think. So I'm really, really pleased with just that little added bit of paper. What a difference. So again, I got to trim it up, and I'm looking, do I need anything else? These are the things I have to look at, but let's trim it up first. Okay, well, I'm just loving it. Look at that. Like, the more I look at this, the more I love it. Especially this little paper right here. And that was like a last minute thing, a little bit of an accident. Well, not really an accident, but phone rang, paper flipped over. This was on the other side. So much better. Really, really love the way it came out. So does that ever happen to you? Like, leave me a comment below. Does it ever happen that you think you're finished? You think, you're done. Or maybe you're trying one more thing and then something happens and it's almost like this paper flew at me. Like, no, use me. Kind of thing. I don't know. But that's what it seemed like at the time. It was like, oh, okay, this was on the other side. And this is so much better. So anyway, it just worked out perfectly. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please come again soon. Don't forget to create, inspire, and share, and I'll see you next time. So here's some gel printing videos that you might enjoy. Bye-bye.